Hey, everybody, welcome back to the ChatGTM podcast. The Chad Horn and Michael Beck coming to you live again with a little bit of what we call a pickup game. It's not really a podcast, but we're preparing for the road to
the Restaurant Leadership Conference.
Yes, we're going to the RLC 2026 in Phoenix, Arizona coming up. And I don't know why I'm talking like a DJ, but I'm really feeling it right now. So let's just go with the vibe. On today with us is Mr. Jason Riggs. Jason is a luminary. Well, the guy's really just something else. There's a real difference, honestly, between people who use technology and people who can see where it's going. Jason's in that second group. He's the chief commercial officer and product officer at Audivi AI and the author of Mach 10. Over the past 2 decades, he's built and scaled products at places like GoPro, Qualcomm, Impart Technology, which we both know and love. All three of us have spent time there. But he really is spending time on where speed and decisions actually matter. And what he's focused on now is something most people feel, but really just haven't put a name to yet. We don't know. We don't have a content problem. We have a trust problem, is something Jason's known for saying. So there's more being created than ever before, but less of it actually sticks. And that's where Audivi AI comes in. It's built around the idea of Jason's central philosophy of speed with soul, the belief that AI accelerates everything. Human judgment has become more important, not less, is all that's going on. So this isn't about making more noise. It's about making communication actually mean something again, because moving fast is easy now. Being believed, that's the edge. And that's exactly what this builds. Jason, welcome to the show. Let's talk shop. Let's talk Audivi. Let's talk
Wow. Well, first of all, Michael, if I ever do buy a radio station, which may happen someday, you are definitely going to be on the morning show. That is some high quality delivery, and that's coming from a former radio guy. So
wow, that is a huge compliment. Thank you so much, Jason. Now you're really welcome on the show.
It's flawless, man.
So how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Guys. Looking forward to RLC. I mean, I think it's honestly, pound for pound, one of the best shows in any conference or in any industry, really, but especially in the QSR industry. Just a lot of great interactions, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun this year.
I agree. It's one of our favorite shows of the year. And I'm going to say this out loud because I know there's people watching, and some go, you can't say every show is your favorite. And I say it's my favorite a lot about a lot of different shows, but I think you guys agree that it's not your favorite because it's the show. It's certain things about each show that is your favorite, right? I have my favorite comedy actor. I have my favorite drama actor. I have my favorite horror actor. I think the same thing applies to events. And I love the executive presence combined with technology that RLC really represents. What about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's exactly what it is. I think you talk about things in theory, you talk about, the problems that we all kind of hear about, from various sources, but actually getting in a room with people who are making huge decisions that have a massive impact on this huge industry and actually getting it firsthand in terms of like, not so much, what are the things you're dealing with right now? But for me as a product guy, I was trying feel like what they're going to be thinking about, 6 to 12 months from now, because you kind of build products to meet that timeline, right?
Right.
So it's more interesting where they're heading versus where they are today. But obviously there's pain points that they need to solve today too. And these are the people that make the decisions, which is such a rare opportunity. Not that I don't enjoy talking to you guys at shows. I mean, we always have fun, but it's nice to talk to some decision makers.
Actually, the reality is if you're talking to somebody at the show, you're talking to the wrong person.
Yeah, that's true.
Almost always, right?
That's
you
true.
Divide and conquer, meet new people, make new friends.
Yeah, and
So
that's
Chad,
a Michael Beckism right there.
that is a Beckism. You can coin that one. If you're with the people you're with the wrong people. Chad, what do you got? Dig in here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with this, Jason. Great to see you again. RLC this year, this moment in time, everything that has been going on in the country, the world, technology. What do you expect to be on the minds of those decision makers, those operators that you end up talking to? What are like the top 1, 2, or 3 things that's keeping them up at night and occupying their time and attention?
Well, it's first, how soon can they get Audivi going in their chain? No,
Of course.
So number one is definitely the costs of everything. I mean, operational efficiency is always it's always in the mix somewhere. But now you've got all this additional pressure coming from the pricing pressures with the various conflicts overseas, and obviously that puts pressure on fertilizer costs and even the cost to process the food. So you've got a lot of sort of additional costs in the mix, not to mention the tariffs, which are still in effect. I think people are really struggling to find the sweet spot between value versus premium, right? You have a lot of different brands going premium. You got McDonald's pushing on the value menu. So I think that's really going to be, a top of mind topic. Operational efficiency. How can I get more sort of out of what I have today? And how can I squeeze costs out of it? It's like the common paradigm, right? And I think, the second thing is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of, the future of drive-thru, really, because there's a lot going on with drive-thru. I think drive-thru became a critical component to every restaurant. at least every major chain, starting with COVID. And I think now it's evolving past the, okay, we have to throw everything we have at this to try and get this right, to like, how do we do this intelligently? How do we make the experience as good or better than any other experience that we offer? And how can we process, essentially more throughput more quickly with things like automated order taking and the drive-through stuff like that. So I think those are going to be big, big things. And I think, additionally, I think there's just a lot of concern about the macro economy right now. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty. Just saw Oracle had a massive layoff pretty recently.
Hmm.
There's a lot going on that makes people wonder
I
if,
think our previous company had another layoff recently.
yeah, I think they're at three months or something like that. So
Where as well? Boom, boom, boom.
it's bad. I mean, it's confusing, right? Because you still got interest rates holding, and you've got inflation doing what it's doing, and it's just I think there's so many mixed signals. You don't know what's going on, but ultimately, we can all agree that we're heading into some period of sort of price pressure and consumer reduced spending. And so, how do these different concepts address that? And again, some of it comes from operational efficiency. You get more margin with what you have, and some of it comes with just positioning and value menus and things like that. So I think it's going to be an interesting conference this year.
So Jason, and I love this term. I for some reason probably believe you have this tattooed somewhere on your body. Speed with soul. It's a philosophy of yours, right? But thinking about going to the show, what does that look like for multi-unit operators trying to scale without losing the human element?
Yeah, it's so important, and I think that's the interesting thing with that I sort of stumbled upon. I would say almost while writing this book is like AI speeds everything up in so many ways, but it doesn't do it sort of without a consequence. And so I think there are times when humans just have to be there to exercise judgment over is what this LLM is saying, is that
That was
actually
Sol
correct?
Rashidi's core central message is critical thinking, during the AI summit, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly right. I mean, critical thinking to me is not something AI can do. Can AI process a spreadsheet faster than anyone else? Absolutely. Can it process orders if you set it up correctly with the right business logic? For sure. Maybe even more accurately than a human. But what AI can't do is really apply the judgment layer, the critical thinking layer. It's not just the can we do this? It's the should we do this? Does this make sense? Is this a good customer experience?
What about the humanity of how that decision feels?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think there's a whole, and this kind of goes back to like I don't think people ever really want to cross over into the technology 100%, technology interface. I think they always want the human element. They always want to know that there's some human involved in at least parts of the process. Not all of them, but definitely parts of it. And I think, the humanity is the connection that you make when you talk, like just like we're having right now. Like these are connections that you can't have with AI today, although
Right.
I've pretty crazy stories. And I think the stuff that we are actually, sort of wired for as humans is this sort of interpersonal connection. The question is like, where can you optimize that? Where can you offload the sort of cognitive load stuff that maybe isn't as relevant, like taking an order, for instance? And then where does it apply in a way where it's super meaningful and like maybe the way you greet the customers or how you prepare the food or even just how you interact with people in the restaurant. Like there are places where it makes a lot of sense to have humans, and then there are just places where, as we all know, AI can do the job more efficiently. What they are seeing now, though, a couple of interesting trends. People are now starting to think very similarly because so many people are using AI when they
Yeah.
express themselves in various forums. So you're starting to get this like common sort of way of saying things, a staccato dash sentence stuff that you see out there, and I think also people are realizing that the AI efficiencies that they thought they could just plug in and reap aren't there yet.
I don't think anybody's saving any money from AI yet.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, it's still
They're
a great.
spending more money to get AI. It might give it more throughput, more volume, but I don't think they're saving money on their spend.
Right. It's still a promise. I mean, Audivi, obviously, we're positioned, I think, well to hopefully validate this promise that we've all been given. But yeah, I mean, you have more information coming in. You have humans trying to process more. You have fewer humans doing it. So you're kind of getting this burnout factor too of all this AI entering the ecosystem and just bombarding people with information. There's fewer of them to even critically think about it and manage it. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely at an interesting inflection point. And you're going to start seeing, I think, some of the AI based, models just kind of disappear because they're not sustainable. They're not affordable. You're starting to see even just some of the competitors in our space are struggling right now because of the
Cost
cost of the
models,
models
right?
they have and the
Yeah.
humans.
Yeah. Chad, before you jump in, just one more question here because this is a backup here. So when we were at the Mertech conference and we went on, we talked to some folks and big operators, and some said they had friction thinking about this subject for the drive-through, and I don't know if they thought all the way through, but like, how would you propose in the area where you're just talking an In-N-Out, a Chick-fil-A, a company that has a very personal approach to that line busting motion that in the drive-through that would argue it's not a fit, right? But I believe there is something that does fit in a variation on how you use your tool set. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Chick-fil-A is a great example. I mean, they're interestingly enough considered sort of the gold standard of drive-throughs, but then they also have a high drive-through wait time. In a lot of the studies I've seen, there was just one that came out pretty recently. You guys might have seen that one. So people are still happy, even though they have to wait a little bit longer. So in and out, same kind
Is
of
that
thing.
at your pleasure, right? Or it's our pleasure.
So the question is like, what do you do to mitigate that while maintaining, sort of that even just a line busting process, right? I mean, yes, you could maybe put another sort of pre-ordering thing ahead of the menu or whatever. But let's just say you still want to use the tablets. There's definitely a use case and something that I know, myself and some of my colleagues have discussed where you can potentially have the tablet at least get like sort of even the natural interface input, almost like you're putting the AI ordering technology in a tablet and allowing them to just, feed that in more quickly rather than searching around and pressing buttons
Essentially
and
touchless order entry?
basically, yeah. I mean, and that doesn't seem like a huge leap at all, actually. That just seems
Right.
like something hopefully would just optimize the process because you're, again, just speaking like you would to anything.
So it's a caddy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Chad?
Yes.
Well, let's shift back to RLC now for a moment, right? So, what's your game plan? What are some of the activities you're going to be doing, the events you're going to be a part of, ways you're going to let brands in on the cool stuff you're doing?
Yeah, great question. And we're definitely excited about this show. We think it's going to be a huge show for us just in terms of, having people really try and get their hands on the product and see how well it works and all that kind of stuff. So we've got a few things going on. I know I'm going on a hike. My CEO opted out of the hike or he took the easy hike. I think they have like a child's hike maybe he's going on. So
It's the follow Jason in a golf cart hike.
there is a golfing event too. I believe Adam on my team is going up with that as well. So that he's going to be doing that. I'm going to be doing one of the hikes, and so we're going to be doing that. I'm really looking forward to connecting with some restaurant folks there. And we also have a Whisper Suite, which will be essentially offering the opportunity for anyone at the show that wants to come in and try it out. It's just basically a place where we've got the HME device hooked up. Our product is running through it, so they can hear it, order from it, see the order actually process on a monitor, like the whole thing is simulated as if it would happen in a real location. So that's great. We actually did that at the Genius show back in November and that went
Oh,
really well. So looking forward to that. It's kind of a better environment because it's quieter and you have a chance to actually have a discussion. It's not like you're just on some trade show floor and it's madness. So the Whisper Suite's going to be great. We're setting people up for that. And then lastly, we're doing a Diamondbacks game. So we've got a suite and we're going to host some folks there and it's just going to be fun getting some special liquid refreshments. I think we're going to get some good interactions. I think we've already got a pretty decent number of people coming. I think we've got a few more slots. I think that's going to be one of the best events there. We were trying to think of something fun that people could participate in and we could actually have some time and have a good discussion. So far there's been a ton of interest.
So thinking about the Whisper Suite, right? You're working with HME there. You guys made a recent announcement about a partnership with Quail, as I understand it too.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
correct.
Is it true that this will be the public's first opportunity to interact with, work with, and understand how Audivi works as a
It's
public event?
It's one of them for sure. Like I
Yeah.
mentioned, we did do it at the Genius show last year. So we had a suite set up similarly and had some folks that were going to be at that show. Obviously, they're using Xenial, Genius, Global Payments. And so they were coming over to try it out at that show. But yes, this will be definitely at a broader scale, hopefully with, more interested folks. And
And the product's different now,
yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah. 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 This is definitely an upgrade from what we showed at the Genius show. This is going to be significantly, I think, upgraded. And anyone who tries it will see it. The Genius show was great as well. We had a great product, but you got to think that was back in November and here we are coming up, we're in April now, right? So that's a ton of time to make it better.
And so on Quail, and I'll let go finally, Chad. I think I
Oh,
had too
good.
much caffeine today, but on the Quail partnership, that's significant. Like
Yeah.
people are asking, how the hell did you pull that off? One, but two, what does it mean to you guys, and why would the world care?
Yeah. So, Quail's a great company. I think they're really underrated here, especially in the States. They just don't have as much of a presence. But like when McDonald's did their Cosmic stores, they used Quail as their drive-through product. So they didn't choose our old company or the main competitor that owns a huge chunk of the drive-through space. They picked Quail, which is awesome. And I know the CEO, Tom, he's a great guy, just really nice. I actually met him at the McDonald's Worldwide Conference. We were both catching an Uber together, which is a whole nother story for a different
I
show.
love it when that stuff happens. Yeah.
But a really nice guy. Honestly, this partnership makes a ton of sense for a lot of reasons. One, we're basically making it easy for his customers to get their new product with sort of a pre-installed voice AI product that they can try essentially for free for a period of time. So, it makes sense for them from just a convenience, low friction engagement. And it makes sense for Quail because they've got this brand new product coming out on market. I think they're going to be a top player. I mean, it's interesting. There's a lot of sort of up and coming products that are hitting the market on the drive-through side. Obviously, HME owns a good chunk of the market, but I think Quail is going to make a dent, and I think this is going to be a big part of getting some additional adoption in the U.S. And again, there's nothing better than buying something, especially hardware, and having it include something, not bloatware, of course, because we've all gotten those computers with all kinds of stuff on them that you don't need, but include something.
Norton, I don't want you.
Exactly. But include something that you would legitimately would want to try out, obviously,
Yeah.
even in a lab or whatever. And it's all right there. And you can essentially, have it shipped like that. And that's great. So yeah, we're excited about it. I think it's a game changer. And to your point, to me, it just makes a lot of sense for our customers and for all both of our companies, I should say, Audivi and Quail.
I don't know if it's a good analogy, but I'm imagining buying an Alexa device from Amazon and then them saying, oh, wait, you wanted to talk to it, and that's a piece of software you got to go get.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it feels somewhat foundational. I think it's going to feel even more foundational in the next 12 months. Like right now, I think people are still trying to figure out, like, does this make sense for my business? I think it does, but I haven't really found a solution that works. And so we're hoping to change that paradigm. But I think it really does feel like something that you almost expect. And you could almost use the same example with like Siri. Like if you bought an iPhone and it didn't have the Siri sort of baked into it, or you had to do something special to activate it, it would just be weird. And I think we are going to get to that point, to your point, Chad, with voice AI ordering.
Follow-up question to that, just on the voice AI side. I feel like people's starting point in terms of what they understand and think are all over the place. So I'm curious, for the uninitiated that you talk to, what is something they think is complicated about voice AI that actually isn't? And then the opposite of that, what's something that feels simple to people that actually is really quite tricky to get right?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say myself included, I thought it was an easier problem to solve than it really is. So I'll start with the other spectrum side of the spectrum, which is the how hard can it be? Right? You have a menu, you're taking orders, there's only so many choices. But we start getting into modifiers and the way people speak in different parts of the country and, LTOs and all the other stuff that goes into a QSR menu. The complexity factor does ramp up quickly. So it's not that it's not possible to solve it. I mean, it's definitely very solvable, and that's what we're doing. But it just isn't as easy of a problem space. It's actually fun because it's not that easy. So I think that's definitely one of the main, just things that people think should be easy, and it's relatively difficult. The thing on the other end of that spectrum, the thing that people think maybe is hard, and it's not as bad as it seems, is really to get that cadence to where it's more of a natural sounding discussion. We've all used products, I think, that do it pretty well. Like, I don't know if you guys have Google Home. You have to have at least one spy in your house, right? So we've switched out Amazon. I figured, they had already gotten all the info they need on us, powering the other, major tech company. So, but the conversations start to, like with this new version of Gemini embedded in the Google Home, it sounds really natural. And so I think, that again has been something that sounded difficult, and maybe it was in the past with the old models and sort of the old way of processing things. But now I think that's going to become less and less of a barrier, which again goes back to the increased adoption and increased acceptance of the solution once it sounds more like you're just having a conversation with someone with a headset.
Thinking about something else, it occurs to me, like, AI moves so fast. Just tech in general, but this whole new concept of it, you wake up one day and the thing you've been using for 2 weeks is now dead. So the mainstream is saying, as somebody who's leading an AI company, where do you get your information from? How are you learning? Where is your wellspring?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think just naturally, especially coming from the product space, I have a natural curiosity. So I'm always trying new things. Like when AI you may have done, I think you and I talked about this, Michael, when it first came around, like I was trying them all, like give me every AI product out there, Canva, whatever, like I'll try them all.
Yeah, I'm a human being with tech stack bloke.
And I think that's what you do though, right? Like, I don't know, like for me, I just have that natural curiosity. Like I'm curious why this one's different than that. And, what can you do with each of these? And what does Cursor do versus some of these other things, right? Or Claude. And so for me, a lot of it just comes from that. Like I just am
Yeah.
always asking questions and trying to find solutions because that's sort of how I spent my whole life. But I think on top of that, there is a lot of evolution happens very quickly. Even once, we go to market at a greater scale with our product and we've got a bunch of people using it. It's going to be one of those things where the technology that underneath it changes quickly. And some of it becomes I think better in terms of how it handles requests. You got text to speech, speech to text, all that stuff. So those models and that sort of aggregate model has a bunch of moving parts that you always have to be sort of on the forefront of managing.
Right.
So to answer your question, especially the team I have, like we all, it's a bunch of really smart people that really are into this stuff. So I get a lot of that from them actually.
Yeah.
They'll be like, hey, Cartesia's doing this and DeepGram's doing that, whatever. So we have those discussions frequently. So that's a really good source of information. But I think, yeah, you just have to stay on top of it. Everyone's updating their models. The models are changing. Some of them get better. Some of them maybe fall behind. Some of them, the costs get out of hand, and again, it's kind of weird because you're building on a moving foundation. If you think about this whole product suite, it's not like the stuff, I was doing at par, where at least you were building on sort of a stable foundation. This thing's moving.
Well, that makes a good point too. Is so historically, up until this moment in time, or in the last few years, it didn't felt it was real. That product development was iterative. V1, V2, V3, V4.
Mhm.
And now it's almost like nuke it from space and start over because we have a whole new set of tools and let's just get going. So do you see the iterative process as it traditionally existed still being viable? Or is it now we're at a place we're just going to have the AI rewrite itself with these new parameters in place and these new functions, instructions that would get us there faster?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Because you guys did a teardown, didn't you? Like you guys started like on a blank sheet somewhere in the middle too, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's actually creating a new paradigm where the development itself and the coding with Claude Code and everything else, Cursor and all stuff that's out there, the actual execution and the execution speed has increased so much that that's become less of the bottleneck, right? It's more about the decision-making process. Should we do that? Because you could probably pick 10 different paths and get them all done in roughly the same amount of time with some of these AI products.
Right.
So the question becomes more like, okay, critically thinking, like we're a business, but we're a business that serves QSRs and here are our prospects, these are their pain points, like all that kind of stuff, right, goes into it. So I think to kind of get back to what you're asking, I think there's just, it's one of those things where, we always have to kind of be aware, not only of what's going on, but also be aware of like how the new technology factors into that or not. And so we iterate. I think you can iterate today at a clip that we've never seen before, which is crazy. Right. You said you would have a V1 out there, maybe a V11, all that stuff, right? And you would slowly develop, but the agile process is still alive. I just think now you have this continuous loop of feedback so you can adapt and innovate much more quickly at maybe Mach 10 speed, if you will.
Plug.
But you could pretty much.
I need to put a jet engine in that part when it comes on. I absolutely will. Absolutely will. That's funny. Or it's almost instead of tearing it down, it's almost like recompile the code.
Yeah. I mean, so like, what did we actually do when we sort of hit the reset button, last year? We did take out, a lot of what didn't work. We had a foundational layer of sort of logic and some other things that we could repurpose, but then you can layer on a much more, sophisticated, accurate, whatever you want to call it, layer that scales maybe more, efficiently than you could have in the past. So again, going back to what you're saying, the agile process is still alive. It's still an iterative process. It's just a matter of A, the pace at which you move, and then B, the decision-making piece, which is the most important piece now, because you could do almost anything. The question is, what should you do, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Jason, so some of my favorite technology leaders in the industry are those that have a lot of ops experience, or at least they're very, very good at collaborating with operations.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the reason that's so important is because then they're not just concerned with that, the tech works, but they think through all of the things, the real world stuff that needs to happen for technology to work really in the brand. I'm curious what you do from the supplier side to work with a customer to make sure beyond just the tech working, it works for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I certainly got my fill of ops at our previous company. I was definitely managing, the operations at a level that quite honestly I'd never had before. So I learned a lot in that experience. And that was, of course, during operational madness with all the tariffs and supply chain shortages and all that. So I think operations are absolutely critical. And I talk about operational efficiency not as a buzzword or something that just doesn't have a lot of weight. That actually is a lot of times what drives the margin for a business. It's not so much like how cheaply can we, process our food, but how can we create a great guest experience that still has all the things that are sort of, associated with our brand, but do it as efficiently and inexpensively as possible. And there are things you can certainly do that, increase the value while actually decreasing costs. We did some of those at Par with the way we did our packaging and things like that, so it actually gave the customer better value, but it also solved other problems for us along the way. So there are win-win solutions in operations. That's what I love about it. It's just so logical and it's so like physics. Like I was a physics guy, not a chemistry guy.
Mhm.
So I love the physics of it. But to your point, I think a big part of what we do is we have to get in, we have to understand the customer's environment. I spend a lot of time just going and visiting QSRs and talking to the manager. How are things going? How's your drive-through working? There's so many places where you can get that data directly from the people that are living it. And I think you have to almost put yourself in that person's shoes to understand what the pain points are. The other things I like to do are just, hey, can I talk to someone in operations so we can understand, what is your order taking flow? Do you want the upsells at the beginning or the end, right? Like, so just understanding like what their optimal vision is, even if they're not living it today, like how they want the whole ordering process to flow in the drive-through. And then, again, figuring out like how we can take that, how we can optimize it, giving them data back so that they can optimize their, again, their cost and all that stuff, figure out when to staff more people, what are the big modifiers, all that stuff. So, I think generally speaking, operations are the heart of any business because if you don't have that, you just don't have much. And I think they're, again, to a large degree, the unsung heroes of these businesses because poor operations can put you in a very challenging margin place, and really solid operations can get you to a point where you essentially are doing the same thing as maybe a competitor, but you're doing it more efficiently, therefore more profitably.
There's a lot to unpack there. Like, there's a lot to unpack there. What do you want to get out of this? Like, think about the show coming up. Like, we all go to these events, and my secret goal is to talk to Troy Aikman.
Hmm.
That's the key. That's the keynote. But I think it was Bill Belichick last year. Like, they love getting the football guys, so I want to see Troy.
Yeah.
But there's other celebrities of restaurant status that are there. What brand do you want to talk to? Like, what brand would you love to say, hey, if we had this conversation, we'd walk away feeling happy, whether we sold something or not?
Yeah. I hate to be obvious.
I get starstruck by certain restaurants. Like, oh, too.
I there's so many QSRs that and like you guys were saying about the shows, like I could
Yeah,
almost say something good about any of them.
yeah,
The smaller ones, the medium-sized ones, they've all got sort of their personality. And then some of the people that work there are the personalities. Like I love running into, some of the folks that I've been seeing for years just because of who they are.
hmm
But, for me, especially coming from, where I worked previously, McDonald's is always the one that like they kind of set the pace, and Taco Bell too, by the way. Taco Bell's on
yeah.
a different end of that spectrum. McDonald's really sets the pace for the rest of the industry and the things they do. Others usually follow. They're very best practices, operational efficiency, optimized org. So I really think like
Yeah.
understanding where they're thinking, 6 to 12 months from now is
Okay.
extremely valuable because that's kind of the bellwether for the industry. Taco Bell also, I love those guys. I've had a lot of great discussions with their teams. They're very much on the forefront of like pushing the technology, pushing the weird, I guess I'm old, but the menu items that maybe I wouldn't order and really getting, I think interesting with, not only the menu, and I've been to their office and seen the whole menu, the food lab. It's really interesting. But then also the technology, right? Like they were one of the first to try the voice AI and they have all kinds of optimization technology in their lab, which is really fascinating to see, by the way. So to me, those are the two, in my opinion, I guess, they kind of set the pace, set the benchmark for the rest of the industry. So it's always interesting to talk to those folks. But, like some of the other folks that we work with, like Whataburger and, even like Freddy's, who I know, is not necessarily interested in our product today, but maybe someday they're one of those human to human, companies. But it's still good to understand what their pain points are and see if like
Yeah.
there's a way that we can evolve in a way that makes sense for them.
Yeah, and I'm not digging Taco Bell. I love me some Taco Bell. I love me a crunchy taco, probably a six
Yeah.
pack of those, and just hork those things down. But it's amazing that one of the most innovative companies out there is working with like 8 ingredients.
Yeah. 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 I'm telling you. But what was that thing they had? It was like, I'm totally drawing a blank. It was a Cheez Its thing. Did you guys ever, do you remember that? They had like a,
No, but I remember like the Doritos one that they did, right? And these different
they
LTOs
had
they had were
literally a
awesome.
giant Cheez It. And my son just was obsessed with it because it was hard to find. And so he finally tried it. it was interesting. It was definitely, I don't know if it's still around, but I mean, I think it's cool. Like, who else did that before
Yeah.
then? No one that I know.
Hey, Chad, what are you looking forward to on RLC?
It's usually the same thing with RLC for me. It's just seeing the combination quality, quantity of industry friends.
Yeah.
Everybody's there, and so it's a reunion. I love
It
that
is.
about it.
It is. I think Brandon does a really good job there of creating a buzz with their podcast. I think it's different this year. There's no influence, right? The brand will be doing their thing, and they're gonna have the big shindig, which is something we always look forward to every year. Though it's a coveted invite.
Hmm.
Hopefully, we make the cut this year. Spoiler, we did. But no, it's I always see also I get a little twinge when I leave that show. Not every show I'm having a twinge of sadness when I go home. Bye, everybody. I'll see you next year. Have fun at summer camp. That kind of thing. The more and more I talk to people, it feels that we are in a giant high school, and there are band geeks, and there are nerds, and there are jocks of the restaurant culture. But everybody's cool, and we're all in the same class. I don't know. I love it. I love our industry for that.
One thing I'll
Well
say
said.
though is just the sign of the times. Last year at RLC, I caught a picture of a beautiful sunset,
Yep.
in Phoenix,
Yep.
gorgeous,
Yeah.
and I probably popped that in ChatGPT, just guessing, said, "Hey, make this a watercolor," because that was in, right? Like change, just so it was starting to get new, like people
Oh yeah,
changing.
yeah.
And I posted it, and it's like that would be cringe now.
Why? Because it's just so basic.
Yeah, and it's so
Sometimes the best
clearly
things
just
are.
like, oh, great, you know how to use a prompt.
Well, let's think back. Like when we first started doing this, it was FS Tech, and I was using Snapchat filters to do animation and stuff. And now I can just tell it everything I want it to do. Like it's great. Did you see our prank, Jason, that happened across LinkedIn the last couple of days on April Fool's Day?
Oh, you're talking about the band? Is that what we're talking
Yes.
about? Oh yeah, the
Yes.
band was
The
phenomenal.
short order crooks are going to be playing live at the RLC.
I listened to the songs. They were, I don't know exactly where they came from, but I actually went in and I'm like, I got to hear this. And it was really well produced, even if it was some magical AI algorithm.
Yeah, isn't it funny? I think it's the product of the brains of I'm 3 Owl.
Joseph Saul.
Saul, sorry, long week. And Joseph, I'm pretty sure is a neurospicy like myself, and he rabbit holed so hard on that and made a landing page. He did a full album. He did
Mhm.
press releases, I think. I don't know, but
What?
yeah, no, he didn't do a press release, but and he roped in everybody else into it. But I got at least 2 messages of people going, "Oh my God, I wish you the best of success." Like they bought it hook, line, and sinker. I'm like, bro, this was a prank. It's April 1st. Look at the calendar.
I didn't even do the April 1st thing. I'm just like, this is pretty good because, people are going to be talking about it. And
Yeah.
the music itself, the lyrics are weird. The song titles are weird, I think, for a normal listener, but I got the joke. I thought it was pretty well done.
Yeah. Well, with a front lady like Tony Renee, that we can't lose. So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we've had a little bit here. I think we're coming up on time. I'm not going to do a rapid fire today because we are more doing the pickup game here. But Jason, it's always great to talk to you. I love that you wrote a book. I'm sure you have others in you that are brewing, or if not already out to the publishers. See, that look says everything.
Yeah.
And I love where you're taking Audivi. Pioneering is, if you think about it now, when we go from East Coast to West Coast, we go there in a couple of hours. And pioneers took days and weeks and months
Yeah.
because there were no roads, there were no trails. It was just forage your way forward bravely and set the path for everybody else. You're a pioneer.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate
It's almost
that.
like an Oregon Trail and you die of whatever disease Oregon Trail.
Dysentery.
Dysentery and the damn eagle kills your baby.
Yeah, they didn't really have the getting eaten by your foot. They didn't have the Donner part of that, did they? I don't know. Anyway,
You ate your own foot.
that was a great game, by the way.
It was.
Never
I
disappointed.
can see the green screen glowing at me in my brain.
Well, what I was going to say is, just to close out with what you said, it is interesting, right? Because I've worked for Qualcomm and GoPro and PAR, these like publicly traded companies, but man,
Yeah.
there's something about a startup and doing something, more or less like on the front end of the technology and working with really smart people and solving what I think is a really hard problem to solve. Like everything about it just maps to what at least motivates me. And then having the leadership we have and the team we have, I couldn't be more excited. And just as a quick side note, since I did mention GoPro, I think, but I'm not 100% sure. that
He's
some
getting
of the
us free
stuff
GoPros, Chad.
that's some of the work I did I don't think I even get it anymore. Some of the work I did at GoPro may be out in space right now, circling around the moon because they sent a GoPro up there, which is pretty exciting to think about.
That's
Pretty
awesome.
fun.
That is so cool. You're in the orbit of greatness.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm just going to take credit for it because I don't know either way. So why not?
You never know. You never know. Well, I think that's awesome. And yeah, I'm glad we're going back to the moon. I saw a little bit of it here. I saw the smoke trail going up because it was Florida
Yeah,
launch.
it's interesting. Again, that's very exciting stuff. It's hard to believe that, we went 50 years ago. And like it's
Some
taken that
people
long.
don't believe.
Yeah, I was going to say, depending on whether or not you do. But it's
Yeah.
crazy it's taken that long to go back there. And I'm still trying to figure out if we do go to Mars, how we get through the Kuiper Belt, but that's a different show.
Yes. Yes. It's some serious shielding. Yeah, it'll be interesting. By the way, you're a physics guy. We got a minute anyways. Have you ever heard of Kerbal Space Program?
No, what is that?
Oh, it's a game where you build rockets. The currency of the game is science. And so you start out with an initial kit, a fuselage, a fuel, some kind of fuel, solid or liquid, a capsule and something to retrieve like a parachute and some fins, and you assemble it and you launch your guy up. And initially you just take some measurements and come back down. But next you want to go into space. So you have to build something a little bit bigger. Stack separators, things will, blow them apart as it goes up.
Yeah.
Then once you get up there, then you have to figure out how to circularize an orbit. Then if you want to go to the moon, you can't chase the moon. You got to do a Holman transfer to figure out where the moon's going to be. So you intersect its orbit. And then you have to actually engineer something that if you want to land it, that can land, and engineer it to where it comes back up, and then engineer it to where it can come back. And all these things are iterations of this thing that you keep building. And every time you go, you take more samples, you spend it on more new parts and stuff. But the physics are legit. So NASA has actually crowdsourced asteroid capture scenarios for mining purposes and other things through the Kerbal community because the physics are spot on.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. And I've killed the shit out of millions of these little green guys over the time because they die as you wreck them and blow them up. And the explosions are amazing.
Wow. I'll have to try that. Yeah. As soon as
Yeah.
I finish Oregon Trail, man, that's next on the list.
You haven't done it yet. I hate to tell you.
I hate to tell you, you're probably not going to finish it in this lifetime. I just don't know. Well, I think that's a perfect note to end up on. We lost our last listener about 5 seconds ago when I started talking about Kerbal.
That's
But
right.
for now, Jason Riggs, you're one of the good ones. I love having you on here. Your energy is I can tell just from talking to you. You're just a fun, nice guy. And I like talking. I like spending time with you. So
likewise.
I'm
You guys,
looking
thank you.
forward to getting that big bear hug when I see you in Arizona. We're going to go to the game. We're going to do Whisper Suites. We're going to talk AI. We're going to talk commerce. And we're going to look at the beautiful desert sky as the sun sets or rises. I'm not really rising, but I'll do the sunset.
Sounds very romantic.
Well, you bring the bottle and I won't show up. It'll be great. Anyways, for now, this is Michael Beck, Chad Horn, and Jason Riggs signing off from the ChatGPT pickup game, heading as we go to the Restaurant Leadership Conference 2026 in Phoenix, Arizona at the amazing resort. There was the Marriott? Desert Ridge Marriott Resort. Yeah. See, I almost dropped the ball. I thought it was talking stick. But for now, guys, we're signing off. Thank you so much. And if we happen to air it in time, happy Easter, everybody. See you next time.
Thanks, guys.